Thank you very much for staying with us. The Ghana Journalists Association has received its certificate of unionization from the Trade Union Congress decades after the association was formed. The association believes that the certificate is crucial in the fight for improved conditions of service for journalists. Speaking at the presentation ceremony, President of the GJA, Mr. Roland Afemoni, stated that the GJA will unionize to enhance the conditions of media workers rather than to antagonize media owners.
Today is the day the Ghana Journalists Association is formally receiving its certificate of unionization since it was formed 68 years ago, specifically on August 15, 1949, when all of you were not born. The journey of unionization has been long and the road has been hard. After going back and forth, the GJA passed a resolution in 2011 to metamorphose into a trade union. This was under the presidency of the editor of the Daily Graphic, Nana Ransford Tete, my boss and predecessor. We don't have the luxury of time to sermonize on the benefit of unionization. A few facts, however, will suffice. Unionized employees make an average of 30% more pay than non-unionized workers. 92% of union workers have health-related coverage. Union workers also enjoy guaranteed pensions. These facts and many more contrast sharply with the general conditions of media workers in Ghana. A recent survey by the TUC on the wages and working conditions of media workers indeed highlighted the blatant but heart-rending reality that media practitioners are among the poorly paid workers in Ghana. In some worst-case scenarios, many journalists are not paid at all. One may ask, what crime have the affected or struggling journalists committed for them to be condemned to the pauperized community? Thank God, the pitiable, ignoble, and horrible narrative will be consigned to the dustbin of history, as the GJA has now been legally empowered to fight for the industrial and professional rights of media workers in Ghana. To this end, the GJA is rolling out an immediate, massive, and expansive drive to register all non-union media workers in Ghana, especially those in the private sector. From Paga to Aplao and Azim to Sandema, all media workers must maximize the unique window of opportunity to register. The GJA makes it abundantly clear that it poses no threat to existing unions and employers. We are eternally grateful to investors in the media for the job opportunities they have offered and continue to offer to the numerous media workers across the country. As the saying goes, gratitude is the least of virtues, but ingratitude is the worst of vices. Indeed, it would be at the height of ingratitude to turn our guns on media owners, all in the name of unionization. Unionization in the second term of our administration, inshallah, should and will be a vehicle to enhance the conditions of service of media workers, but not a weapon to antagonize media owners.
Afemoni is president of the GJA. Deputy Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, Joshua Ansa, stated that the TUC will make sure any employer who deviates from the basic International Labour Organization conventions is brought to book.
We are not going to use the unionization to antagonize our employees, but rather to help us to respect each other's view, because the right of a worker is the right of the employer. Brother President, I believe that once you now have the certificate, we are urging all employees to respect the tenets of the certificate and also respect the basic ILO conventions. Right to work, right to organize, and right to negotiate. Any employer who stands on our way in our quest to ensure that our journalists in this country are well catered for in terms of collective bargaining agreements, we will render every support that is needed to make sure that employer is brought to book. Madam Chair, regularizing the process of your unionization has been a problem, but now it's no longer going to be a problem because the major step has already been taken. Once you have been issued the unionization certificate, the TUC family will do all that it could to ensure that your application will be considered by the family and will be properly placed where you belong. On that note, once again, I want to commend all of you for supporting your leadership in the quest of getting a bargaining certificate, which has lasted since 1968 to date. On this note, brothers and sisters, I will, on behalf of the Executive Committee of TUC once again, wish to present to the President, on behalf of the Labor Department, the newly born baby, that is the certificate of unionization, that empowers you to organize from Paga to Axim and from whatever village to another village. Congratulations.
Certainly good news for journalists, but what does it entail really? Joshua Ansah is Deputy Secretary General of the TUC. We just saw him speaking. He's joined me on the telephone. Sir, thank you very much for your time here on the post. Help us to understand the process. We understand that there's one last step that the GJA will have to go through before it can finally say or hit its chest to say it is a union. Please tell us a bit more about this.
Thank you very much. And as I said at the conference, the GJA has now been issued with a certificate of unionization. That's a certificate that allows them to unionize all its members across the country. That is one major step. Another step that they need to work very hard towards is that they need to have a bargaining certificate that will allow them to think with their employees.
Right. So what does it then entail? We're looking at GJA that's mostly, largely made up of people who work in the public media space. But I mean, myself, a couple of my colleagues in private media are also involved. How does the unionization change the fate of any union like the GJA?
Yes, unionization will bring a lot of changes in the media landscape. As I indicated, many of in the private sector work under precarious conditions. And as soon as you are unionized and you're able to negotiate a collective agreement between you and the employer, the collective agreement will indicate, will direct, and will govern your relationship with your employer. That is where you can negotiate a good condition of service for your members. But as it is now, because you don't have the collective agreement in place, your employees are doing their own thing, and you, the employees, are also doing their own thing. Most of you are working even without pay, and you depend on gifts from something that you people call it solely or something of that sort. I don't think it's good for employees in the media landscape, especially most of you in the private sector. And as I indicated too, yeah.
Well, so basically the change here, or the only difference this is possibly going to make, is that it gives the GJA a bargaining power. But how does it extend to private media organizations, that members will call on the GJA to speak on their behalf with their management? Is that how it works?
Yes, any union organization active leadership that meets with the management. You are working with different management at all levels. You are working in different environments, and as soon as people become a union, definitely you have a mouthpiece, and the mouthpiece is your executives who will be meeting your management from time to time to discuss about your working relations and conditions.
Okay.
So it is a major step. It is a big thing that is coming to the media landscape.
Right. Why has it taken so long? We heard about the discussion. We heard that GJA was seeking to be a union for a very long time, a very long time ago. Why did the TUC delay and just give it to them now?
Thank you, Zita. It's an interesting question. We are only facilitating the process for them. And I think that, as indicated by the president himself, this has taken more than 6 to 7 years. So you could see that initially, I have to say that your employees or your members themselves were not really organized.
Okay, so the GJA itself was not really organized. It was not really serious.
Not GJA itself, GJA and its members.
Yes, it's the leadership that interacts with you on this level.
Yes,
so the leadership of the GJA has not been serious about this until now, because I mean, there's a school of thought that because they're getting into an election, then they're going to be using this as to score some political points.
Not at all. If that was the intention, then it's a wrong notion that people are having. Because this started so many years ago, and all along they were struggling to get this back in this certificate being issued to them.
So did you deliberately delay the process for the GJA?
I'm not saying the leadership delayed the process.
No, I'm talking about the TUC. Whether it was...
No, we have not delayed.
Okay, what went into it,
We did not delay the process. We did not delay the process because we don't have any interest in delaying the process. You understand?
Right.
Ours is to ensure that every worker in this country is properly protected.
Okay.
And it can only be protected when you are under TUC or when you are properly organized.
Right.
When you are properly power before you be able to negotiate with your employer. And this is exactly what we are doing and we have been able to do.
Okay.
So it is not the intent that because of their election. Me, I'm not even aware that they were going for elections.
Okay.
The TUC family is happy because at least a milestone has been topped by the leadership of
certainly. I was just curious. I was just curious about what happened the whole 6 years that they put in the request.
It's a to and fro. You see, there are lots of processes that this system goes through. You can't just wake up and go to Labour Department and say you want a certificate for unionization.
Okay.
You need to go through some processes. They need to ensure really you have the people on the ground. You are going to organize the people for the purpose for which the certificate is going to be issued. So they have gone through a hell to and fro. But all the same, let's just be happy that at long last the certificate has been issued, and now they have been empowered to intensify the organization.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very good weekend. Joshua Ansah is the Deputy Secretary for the TUC, explaining to us why it's taken, close to 7 years for the TUC to issue that certificate. Nonetheless, he says to be happy because we finally have it, irrespective of how long it has taken.